Before Mickey ever whistled, a different Disney icon sprinted across silent screens in 1927. Oswald the Lucky Rabbit arrived fast, bold, and strangely modern, then slipped into shadows for decades. How did one black and white rabbit launch a whole new pipeline of cartoons, test Walt Disney and Iwerks' craft, and collide with powerful business forces at Universal? Stay close. 15 verified 1927 facts reveal what really happened inside step by step. Fact 1. The day Oswald officially arrived. Imagine a brand new rabbit hitting theatres and instantly proving Disney could live without live-action gimmicks. On September 5th, 1927, Universal released Trolley Troubles, the first Oswald cartoon to reach audiences. Walt Disney directed it, and he and Iwerks shaped Oswald's look and behaviour for this launch. After early feedback pushed them to refine the character. The short is silent, black and white, and packed with rubber hose movement. Oswald runs a trolley, faces absurd obstacles, and solves problems with elastic body tricks that became the series' visual language. Behind the scenes, the business setup mattered. Producer Charles Mintz and distributor Universal controlled key decisions, while Disney's studio supplied the animation labour and creative spark. Trolley Troubles worked well enough that the series quickly became a steady release schedule, building momentum month by month through 1927. Trade ads called it a new star, and Disney's team began planning the next short immediately too. And that rapid rollout set the stage for bigger tensions that few viewers could sense yet, but that wasn't everything. Fact 2. Schoolyard chaos became Oswald's next test. School might sound harmless, but in 1927 Disney used it to stage a fast little battle of pride. On September 19, 1927, Universal released Oh Teacher, directed by Walt Disney, as Oswald's next public step after his debut. The setting is pure, silent cartoon shorthand, a rush to class, a sweetheart to impress, and a bully cat who turns romance into chaos. Instead of long exposition, the animation communicates everything through bold poses, stretchy timing, and quick visual gags, exactly the language Iwerks and the crew were sharpening that year. You can feel the studio learning how to pace Oswald's stories like miniature slapstick comedies, with clear objectives and sudden reversals. The business frame stayed the same. Charles Mintz and George Winkler produced, and Universal distributed, meaning the rabbit's rise was already tied to outside control. Yet on screen, Oswald comes off confident, resourceful, and stubbornly likeable, traits that made audiences follow him from short to short in 1927, almost overnight too. And the next release pushed that personality into something even stranger. Fact 3. A robot cow exposed Iwerks' mechanical imagination. A milk-selling robot in 1927 sounds like science fiction, but Disney used it as pure slapstick fuel. On October 3rd, 1927, Universal released The Mechanical Cow, directed by Walt Disney, and it pushed Oswald into a world where machines behave like characters. The premise is simple. Oswald relies on a mechanical cow to deliver milk, then chaos hits when trouble targets his sweetheart. What makes it stand out is the machine gag mindset tied to animator Iwerks. Parts extend, fold, and transform with crisp, readable motion, turning engineering into comedy. That style wasn't accidental. Oswald's shorts in 1927 were a proving ground for stronger timing, clearer silhouettes, and faster visual problem solving. Behind the scenes, the same structure powered everything. Producers Charles Mintz and George Winkler managed production, while Universal handled distribution, meaning the creative leap happened inside a business cage. Yet the cartoon's bold mechanics helped Oswald feel modern and inventive for 1927 audiences. It sharpened Disney's pacing too, and the next short would twist that energy into war parody. Fact 4. War parody turned Oswald into a rubber-hose soldier. War parody hit Oswald early, and it landed like a drumbeat. On October 17th, 1927, Universal released Great Guns, directed by Walt Disney, turning the rubber-hose rabbit into a soldier inside a battlefield joke. The cartoon borrows familiar trench imagery and then exaggerates it. Uniforms pop on, planes collide again, and bodies stretch, flatten, and rebuild as if nothing is permanent. That reset-friendly logic was a key 1927 animation trick. Pain becomes a gag for audiences, not a tragedy, so people can laugh and keep watching. Animator Iwerks and the crew leaned into sharp silhouettes and clear action beats, because shorts had to read instantly without dialogue. Behind the scenes, the credit line tells a business story too. Producers Charles Mintz and George Winkler, with Universal distributing, kept the series on a tight schedule of new releases. Great Guns also shows how quickly the studio tested new genres from romance to machines to war in weeks, and the very next step went back to the beach, where the hot dogs fought back. Fact 5. The beach short where the hot dogs fought back. Hot dogs that run away sounds like a silly gag, but in 1927 it showed how bold Disney's animation instincts were getting. On October 34, 1927, Universal released All Wet, directed by Iwerks, and it dropped Oswald into a beach world where even food has personality. The opening plays like a mini circus. The hot dogs squirm, escape, and cause trouble, forcing Oswald to react with fast, readable pantomime. Then the short pivots into romance and showmanship. Oswald spots a girl he likes and tries to impress her by posing as a lifeguard, using quick costume switch humour that silent audiences could understand instantly. The creative fingerprints matter. The D23 listing ties the cartoon to the Oswald run of 1927 releases, while credits in animation databases consistently link direction to Iwerks and the studio crew shaping the series that year, with story credits still pointing back to Walt Disney. That mix, wild object comedy, clear motivations, and rapid turns, helped make Oswald feel alive in black and white. It proved the team could tell a story in minutes. And next, Disney aimed even bigger, sending Oswald into the sky. Fact 6. Oswald went airborne in a transatlantic race. A sky race sounds like pure fun, but it was also a speed test for Disney's young studio. On November 14, 1927, Universal released The Ocean Hop, directed by Walt Disney, and Oswald suddenly had to fly, not just run. The story is simple and easy to read in silence. Oswald competes in a transatlantic airplane race against Pete, and every gag has to be clear in one glance. That forced the team to sharpen staging, silhouettes, and timing, so viewers always know who is winning, who is cheating, and what breaks next. The credits show how many hands were shaping Oswald in 1927. Animators listed include Hugh Harman, Ham Hamilton, Ben Clopton, and Iwerks, with Universal as distributor. Behind the scenes, that matters because the series was expanding fast, with new shorts arriving weeks apart. The Ocean Hop proves the studio could scale Oswald's world upward, from beach sand to open sky, without losing clarity. And right after that big flight, the next release went darker and stranger. Fact 7. Ortensia quietly entered Oswald's world. A new character can slip in quietly, and most people never notice the first moment it happens. On November 28, 1927, Universal released The Banker's Daughter, another Oswald short directed by Walt Disney. The key twist is who shares the spotlight. This release introduces Oswald's cat sweetheart, known at this point as Sadie, and later identified as Ortensia, expanding the series beyond Oswald alone. The setup leans into melodrama parody. Oswald works for a wealthy banker, flirts with the banker's daughter, and a criminal threat pushes the story into chase and rescue beats. In silent animation, that matters because every emotion has to be drawn big: pride, jealousy, panic, so the audience understands the plot without a single spoken word. Behind the scenes, the same business chain stayed firm. Producers Charles Mintz and George Winkler oversaw the package, with Universal distributing it to theatres. By late 1927, that steady pipeline let Disney's crew test romance, danger, and new supporting characters at speed. It hints at a bigger Oswald world taking shape fast for audiences everywhere. And what came next surprised everyone. Fact 8. Christmas arrived, and Oswald turned into Santa. A holiday cartoon can feel warm, but Oswald's 1927 Christmas was packed with nervous energy. On December 12, 1927, Universal released Empty Socks, an Oswald short directed by Walt Disney and Iwerks, and tied to the same 1927 release run documented in the studio's filmography. The hook is simple: a silent, black and white Christmas setup where Oswald plays Santa and tries to deliver joy, but the situation spirals into frantic slapstick. That contrast mattered in 1927 because it proved the series could switch moods without changing its visual language. Rubber hose motion, clear pantomime, and fast cause and effect gags. It also shows how quickly Disney's team was learning to stage action inside confined spaces, like an interior room, so every movement reads cleanly. Even the title feels like a tease. Empty Socks hints at disappointment. Then the cartoon races to fill the frame with chaos and surprise. Behind it all, Charles Mintz's deal with Universal kept the pipeline moving relentlessly, and after this holiday stop, the calendar flipped, bringing one more 1927 release before the year ended. Fact 9. The last 1927 release closed the year's sprint. The final Oswald release of 1927 didn't arrive with fireworks. It arrived with a date that quietly sealed a whole year of momentum. On December 26, 1927, Universal released Rickety Gin, an Oswald the Lucky Rabbit cartoon recorded in period filmographies and later reference catalogues. That matters because it marks the last Oswald short to premiere in 1927, closing a rapid run that began in early September. In just a few months, Walt Disney's studio kept delivering new silent black and white cartoons on a tight schedule, while producers Charles Mintz and George Winkler handled the business side and Universal handled distribution. Even without synchronized sound, each short had to communicate fast through clean pantomime, strong poses, and readable action beats. Skills Iwerks and the crew were sharpening with every release. Rickety Gin sits at the end of that learning sprint, like the final page of a notebook filled at high speed. For audiences, Oswald felt new and fearless, and once 1927 ended, the next chapter would keep rolling until the stakes became much bigger. Fact 10. The Oswald pilot was rejected, and the redesign happened fast. The first Oswald cartoon wasn't the one audiences saw first, and that twist began in 1927. Early that year, Walt Disney and his lead animator, Iwerks, built built a pilot called Poor Papa to introduce their new rabbit for Universal's planned series. But the reaction behind closed doors was blunt. The character looked too old and heavy for what Universal wanted. Instead of fighting, Disney agreed to change the design and tone, and the pilot was set aside while the team reshaped Oswald into a younger, snappier figure. One crucial correction for clarity. Although it was produced first in 1927, Poor Papa was held back and did not reach theatres until 1928. That single decision mattered because it forced Disney's studio to solve a hard problem fast. How do you redesign a character and still keep him readable in silent black and white animation? Iwerks streamlined the rabbit's silhouette, and the crew adjusted the acting to feel quicker and more playful. In other words, Oswald's personality was edited in real time, before the public ever met him. It also revealed who really held the leverage, and once that new Oswald was ready, the release sprint began. Fact 11. The paperwork behind Oswald was the real trap. Here's the quiet 1927 trap hidden behind Oswald's cheerful grin. The paperwork wasn't Disney's. In 1927, Universal wanted to re-enter the cartoon business, and Charles Mintz, working through the Winkler operation, set up the arrangement that put Disney's studio on the production line. Walt Disney and Iwerks created Oswald to satisfy that demand, but Universal handled distribution, and Mintz acted as the key producer-side gatekeeper. That structure mattered because it shaped every creative choice in 1927. Disney could innovate on screen, yet the series lived inside someone else's business system. It's why the shorts roll out like clockwork. From September through December, steady releases were the product being sold, not just the character. The behind-the-scenes reality is documented in historical accounts of the period. The Alice era was ending, Universal wanted a Rabbit series, and Mintz's arrangement placed Disney in a supplier role. Credits named Mintz and George Winkler as producers too. Oswald's success in 1927 was real, but so was the cage around it, and that cage would soon squeeze harder. Fact 12. Oswald's 1927 release schedule was the real engine. 9 releases in 1 year sounds normal today, but for 1927 it was a warning sign and a flex. From September 5 to December 26th, Universal premiered 9 Oswald shorts in theatres. Trolley Troubles, Oh Teacher, The Mechanical Cow, Great Guns, All Wet, The Ocean Hop, The Banker's Daughter, Empty Socks, and Rickety Gin. These dates are preserved across studio filmographies and reference catalogues, and together they show a production machine running almost non-stop. For Walt Disney's crew, that pace meant constant drawing, inking, and shooting frames, while still refining Oswald's acting and design in real time. For Charles Mintz and George Winkler, it meant meeting delivery expectations and keeping Universal supplied with fresh cartoon product. The retention trick is hidden here. Audiences didn't have months to forget Oswald. He returned every few weeks, building familiarity fast in black and white silence for everyone. That relentless cadence shaped every story beat because speed demanded clarity. By late 1927, Oswald wasn't just a character, he was a schedule, and schedules create pressure that eventually cracks. Fact 13. Universal didn't want another cat, so Disney built a rabbit. Before Oswald even had a name on a title card, the character existed because Universal was tired of cartoon cats. In 1927, as the Alice comedies were winding down, Universal Pictures wanted back into animation, and the request that reached Walt Disney through Charles Mintz was blunt. Give us a rabbit series, not another cat. Disney and his top animator Iwerks responded by reworking ideas and shapes they already knew, turning the studio's experience into a fresh, funny animal star built for silent, black and white theatres. This is a behind-the-scenes fact with big consequences. It explains why Oswald's earlier shorts focus on clear pantomime, bold silhouettes, and quick physical comedy that reads instantly on screen. It also explains the pressure in 1927. Disney's studio wasn't just creating art, it was fulfilling a commercial demand under Universal distribution and Mintz's production supervision. Oswald's personality, spunky, mischievous, determined, was designed to win audiences fast because the series had to prove itself quickly, and once Oswald proved it, the calendar started filling up at speed. Fact 14. Silence forced Oswald's animation to speak louder. In 1927, Oswald didn't speak, so every laugh had to be drawn. The 1927 releases were silent, black and white theatrical shorts, and that single limitation shaped everything the Disney studio did on paper. Without voices, Walt Disney and Iwerks had to make Oswald's emotions readable from across a movie house. Big poses, clean silhouettes, and actions that telegraph intent in 1 second. Film records and animation databases list these shorts as silent productions, so timing wasn't carried by dialogue, it was carried by rhythm, anticipation, impact, and a quick reset. That's why objects behave like actors, a trolley, a mechanical cow, even hot dogs become expressive partners in the gag. It also explains the fast pacing of the 1927 run. When a story must be understood instantly, scenes can't linger, and each beat has to land visually. The silent format turned Oswald into a pure motion character, elastic, physical, and direct, while the studio learned speed and clarity at the same time, and the next fact reveals how that clarity met another kind of pressure alone. Fact 15. The Oswald crew in 1927 was a future dream team. Oswald's 1927 cartoons weren't made by one genius with a pencil. They were made by a future dream team before anyone called them that. Look at the credits for Trolley Troubles, released September 5th, 1927, and you'll see names that later became huge in animation history. Animator Iwerks is listed alongside Hugh Harmon, Rollin Hamilton, Friz Freleng, Ben Clopton, Norm Blackburn, and Les Clark, with Walt Disney directing. Those credits matter because they reveal what 1927 really was, a training ground where young artists learned fast under pressure, solving problems frame by frame. The work had to be clear in black and white, silent and readable in a theatre, which forced discipline in timing and staging. It also means Oswald's early style wasn't just Disney, it was the combined habits of a whole crew experimenting together in real time. When you watch the elastic motion and snappy gags, you're watching careers being built at the same speed as the cartoons right there, and once you know that, the story feels bigger than a rabbit. In 1927, Oswald raced from debut to holiday chaos in just weeks for everyone watching, guided by Walt Disney and Iwerks, and powered by a small crew working at breakneck speed. 9 releases proved the rabbit could carry stories through pure motion, clear pantomime, and bold invention. Trolleys, robots, beaches, battles, and skies. But behind every gag sat contracts, schedules, and control, and that quiet tension is the real cliffhanger.